All right, our seventh presenter this morning is Mrs. DeAnna Sheets. She is the Director of Curriculum Assessment and Federal Programs at Branson, and her topic is establishing in-district support for online learners.
Thanks, Missy. So as we started the beginning of this year, we had 20% of our students were enrolled in online learning through Launch. And like many of the other districts, due to the pandemic, we didn't necessarily feel that the 20% of students that we had enrolled in online learning necessarily possessed all the skills they needed to be successful as an online learner. And so immediately as a district, we started to plan what kind of supports can we put in place to help these students be successful. And we used the typical response to intervention plan, thinking about tier 1 support, tier 2 support, and tier 3 support. So we knew Launch already had in place for our content service teachers and for Launch teachers to contact students on a weekly basis if they were not completing assignments, if they were not logging in. And we felt that was a great support, and using also the daily reports in Launchpad. So that was kind of our tier 1 support just for all students. Like I said, though, we knew there were going to be other students would need additional support. So after brainstorming as a district, we decided we needed to guide some of these families with additional support, such as the process of enrollment, logging in, accessing the observer accounts, troubleshooting in Canvas, all of those things. And on top of that, like a couple other people have mentioned, we wanted to send out progress reports on a weekly basis to all families, just to make sure that the parents knew how their students were doing, grades, missing assignments, all of that. The observer accounts are great, and we use Canvas as a district as well, but a lot of families struggle to navigate those. We have families, of course, like all of you, that work multiple jobs and just don't have the time to navigate those, navigate through the observer accounts. So we wanted somebody on our end to be sending them just, here's an email of your grades. So our initial thought was that our building counselors would provide the support, but we quickly realized that was just not feasible with 20% of our population being online and then managing their current job description. So administrators worked together and decided to repurpose 2 elementary intervention teachers. They've taught intervention for multiple years to become virtual ed coordinators for our district. And so these 2 staff members were moved out of the building to the central office, and their only job was to be a liaison and a support person for our online families. So they did that 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. And these 2 staff members would take phone calls, walk through if we have interested families that are kind of curious about online. They walk them through what online looks like for that grade level. They help them get enrolled in Launch. They answer phone calls from the students during the day when students are working. They answer emails. They help with submission of assignments. Sometimes the kids come in. They walk them through step-by-step how to do all that. They also, on top of that, then pull weekly grades and send progress reports to all the students and families each week. And so we just created a kind of a generic form for K-5 that includes the completion and the proficiency scores so that parents know how the kids are progressing. It gives them updates and reminders, so they're just in constant communication with them. And they each have a list of students that they're working with, so they've divided those lists so that it's one contact for a family. So if a family has a kindergartner and a junior high student and a high school student, they have one liaison that's working with them. Then they also follow up with phone calls to families who need additional support. So that has become our tier 2 support for our online students. So then our tier 3 support that we provide is that we have those students come in if they are still struggling. They come into the district or to the building and work during the school day for a few hours each week. That's just kind of an accountability check for them. And then we've also implemented tutoring with content service teachers after school hours to help boost those kids. So our greatest takeaway from all of this has been that you have to create a systems approach. It was not, and people mention communication, and that's part of a systems approach. Having lots of stakeholders involved and at the table, that's part of that systems approach. But all of our principals and administrators were part of conversations, counselors were part of conversations, and helped build that support system this year for those families. And because of that support system that we created this year, our students took 2,243 courses first semester, and 80% of those courses were passed. And we weren't on track for that at the beginning when they first jumped in, the students first jumped in, but because of the supports put in place, we feel very successful on how many students have passed those classes.
That was great, DeAnna. Thank you so much. A couple questions came up, but they were more launch related. We can help with the kind of where to pull grades and things like that. If there are any other questions, you can feel free to pop them in the chat right now.
I will say, and how I answered that, DeAnna, was that they were asking how you were pulling your elementary grades, and I explained that it was a very time-consuming process, and you've given us lots of feedback on that. And I appreciate that. When I said launch makes us better, you do. So publicly, DeAnna, thank you for holding us accountable for really smooth systems. So we are piloting a way to pull those easily with Branson that we hope to roll out to the state. So very shortly. So again, thanks, DeAnna, for helping make us better and giving us that voice that we needed in an easier way. But I wrote that you were pulling them from the Observer account, and it was very time consuming. Was I correct in that, DeAnna?
That's correct. We go to the Observer account and click on the view grades and then search by the student, and then go in there to get and we just send, we focus on the core classes, and so pull the grades for, for K-5. For the upper grades, we send all of them, but yeah, even the upper grades we're pulling from Observer account, not dropout detected, just because we feel like Observer account is so real time.
And DeAnna, is it this week that is the first week you'll start getting that from us? Good.
Yes, and it was awesome. So,
Okay, so if DeAnna signs off, coming your way to the state soon.